The year was 2015. I was 14 years old and I wanted to be a digital artist. And this was my first digital painting. I have to admit, it's not my best piece of work, but at the time, I was really proud of it. I didn't know what I was doing. I just watched a YouTube tutorial and tried it, which I think is a good attitude to have. And at the time, this was the best result I could come up with. This wasn't my first piece of digital illustration as a whole, but before this I exclusively worked with line art and cel shading, which admittedly I was much better at thanks to the dozens of Vivzy Pop speed paints that I watched. But yeah, I felt like I needed to do more. I wanted to explore other art styles. I wanted to be able to do anything I wanted, and I feel like this was the first step. This was the first one, but then I did it again and again and again to not extraordinary results, and I was getting a little bit better each time. And now, 8 years later, after putting hundreds of hours into this, I think it's fair to say that I'm competent at what I'm doing, at least when it comes to painting and rendering. And so I thought, why don't I grab this very early piece of my art journey and remake it, knowing everything that I know now. And I'll walk you through the process of how I do my digital paintings nowadays.
As always, I start my portrait by outlining the head and then going straight to the eyes, which I was very much struggling to get right in here. Of course, can't forget about the eyelashes and the eyebrows. And I was trying my best to emulate like the expression the original one has, and also her features. In the original it's not that clear what her features are, so I'm going off of memory here. I do kind of remember what this character looks like or what she was supposed to look like. And you'll see the drawing getting kind of deformed with time, like her eyes will change places and her face shape will change. That's all because I have become very reliant on the liquify tool, unfortunately. But I mean, what can I do? The tool is a lifesaver. So now I'm just finishing off the hair and then giving her a nice facial harmonization surgery. But anyway, now we start the coloring process, and you might say, Cheryl, this is all grays, this is not coloring. And yet, this is not color. But what we are doing right here, we are going to fully render this in grayscale and only then add the colors. So get used to it, you'll see a lot of black and white in this video. But then you might be asking, why are you doing that? What do you gain from that? And I'll tell you, not only I save time by doing this, it also makes it easier for me to focus at one thing at a time. Because if I was painting this directly with color, I'd have a lot to worry about. I'd have to worry about what colors the shadows would be, if they look right with the skin tone, if the values are right, like what color the highlights are going to be. But right now, if I do in black and white first, I can focus only on the values and I can worry about these other things later. So yeah, my process is basically laying out the flat colors, then I put the shadows on a multiply layer and the highlights, and then we start rendering. And that's what I started doing right now. I always start by the nose because I think it's the funnest part. And I always hear people asking like, how do I even render? How do you do that? And honestly, there isn't a simple way of putting it. Like with shadows, you can just plop a multiply layer with a cute color and then just paint where the shadows are. This is kind of a trick you can do. But with rendering, there isn't really a trick. At least I don't think there is. It is just painting. The same way you do like in a canvas, in a physical canvas, you do it in a digital one. Of course, with the tools that we have. I like to put a new layer on top of every other and I paint on that one. And one thing you might have realized in the speed paint is that I like to hide and show the rendering layer over and over again. And why do I do that? There isn't really a reason. I just like to see how much the rendering is changing the drawing. And yeah, I do this from start to finish all the way through. And something I've been experimenting with are the different brushes I can use to render. Because when I started I only used one basically that was like a soft edged one, but I was feeling like it was limiting me, like I didn't really love the results, so I started trying some new ones like with harder edges and stuff like that, and I've been enjoying using them. But if I gotta be very honest with you, I'm kind of in a crisis that I don't know how I want to paint. Like, I feel that I have a very distinctive art style that I really like the way I draw. I think it's very specific to me. But I don't have a painting style, I don't have like a rendering style that I would call mine, you know. Back in the day, I had a very specific way I used to do things, like with the line art and cell shading and stuff. And I was very comfortable with that, but like 2 years from now, I started doing some different things. I mean, I did occasionally try different things before, like this painting is an example of that. But for many years, I was very loyal to the way I used to draw, and only in 2021, I started like actually branching out and learning how to paint. And since then, I've been very lost. I don't know what I want my drawings to look like. I know that I don't want to always make full renders like these painting styles because they require a lot of work and they are not necessarily my favorite thing to do. Because surprisingly enough, I actually do really enjoy doing line art and I miss it. When I started doing digital art, I hated it. I hated it so much. But nowadays I do enjoy it and I like the way I do line art, I think it looks good. But I also like rendering, so I'm trying to kind of find a middle way I can go for, but I'm still very much in the process of finding it. And one thing that definitely doesn't help is that I've been in a generalized art block for like the past year. I haven't been drawing for fun, I haven't been studying art, and yeah, it really sucks because I love doing that, but I just feel like everything I do looks terrible and I haven't been enjoying the process as much. And while I'm finishing rendering this hair, which takes like a full century to be done, I'll open my heart with you. In the beginning of last year, 2022, I was so excited about being an illustrator. I was studying so much. I was spent like 6 hours a day drawing and studying, and I was so excited about it because I was going to graduate in 2023, which I did. So I was like, when I get out of college, I'll find a job and I'll be an illustrator, so I have to study for it. I was researching like job openings, reading the requirements, studying to reach them, and I was taking this very seriously, probably more seriously than I've taken anything in my life. But then something happened, and if you are like in the art world, you probably know the advancement of AI. In the beginning, I thought it was like just a silly tool, like I was seeing it being used to make memes and making like this kind of abstract art. I was using it to see how it was and I was kind of fascinated by it. But then it started progressing very quickly, and then I realized this is going to steal my job. And I'm not here to discuss like the ethics of AI art. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I think it's useless to try to stop it because it is, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, a very useful tool. And I think the big problem is not its existence. I think the problem is that it's stealing people's artworks without crediting or compensating them. And like, how do you solve that? I don't know. I have no clue. I just said I was not going to get into the ethics of AI, so I'm gonna stop right here. What I'm trying to get at is that I know that probably 5 years from now, I'm not gonna have a job in illustration. And that realization like came to me at the time that I was the most excited and the most motivated to study, and it kind of threw me in this crisis that I'm right now. Anyway, that was a huge tangent just to get to the point that I'm in an art block. Okay, we've established that. Now let's move on, shall we? I wanted to talk a bit about this character. This character is mine, but not exactly. My friend was making a story and I asked to make a character for her story, and this is what I came up with. Her name is Katrina. I don't know why, I just like the name. And don't ask me anything about her because I honestly don't remember. I just remember her appearance and I thought she looked very cool. That's all I know from her. I think she was like 25 and that's her personality. She's older. So yeah, I'll start talking about the coloring process right now because when the time lapse gets there, it's very quickly. But basically we're using gradient maps, and we are going to select different parts like skin. The skin is just one color, so we select the skin. You'll see me doing this in a bit, and then select the colors for the skin. Here, I started doing that right now. So that's basically what I do. I select different parts and use different gradient maps for each part. And yeah, it's quite simple. Then I start detailing, like I put more rosy tones in her cheeks and her lips, and I start like going through the edges that I didn't select properly and fixing them. And of course, doing the things that I was supposed to do earlier but I forgot, like her lashes in her right eye, I'll do in a minute, and stuff like that. This is just the finishing touches, and then I'll add the effects, which I'm doing right now. And this is the finished piece.
So this is the before and this is after. I think it's fair to say that I improved a little bit in these 8 years, and I'm really glad I did this. And as I've shown in this video, I have many other old drawings that I'd like to redraw someday. So depending on how this video performs, if you want to watch this, I may make this a series where I redraw all my old drawings, maybe. We'll see. I think it could be fun. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It helps a lot. Tell me in the comments if you want to see more of this. I have other videos about art, writing, many other things. If you're interested, please consider subscribing. It would help a lot. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.